Welcome to Capital City News, your connection to Salt Lake City government. I'm your host, Poonam Kumar. Today we'll be talking to Len Simon, Salt Lake City's legislative advisor in Washington, D.C., about how the city interacts with departments and representatives at the federal level of government administration. And our History Minute this week is about the oldest golf course in Utah, which happens to be located right here in Salt Lake City. But before we check out what's been going on, let's start off with our legislative update. At its February 10th work session, the council discussed several options and scenarios for solving the Golf Fund's financial issues and what it means to the city's budget. The council concluded more information is necessary and will continue to discuss options at its February 24th meeting. The council also is reviewing the mayor's proposal for extending the Hive Pass, the affordable transit pass used on UTA. Last month, Salt Lake City played host to some of the most prestigious events in the country, from the Sundance Film Festival to the Salt Lake Comic-Con FanX experience and the Outdoor Retailer Show. Salt Lake City has proved to be a major hub for activity for visitors as well as local residents. The Homeless Services Site Evaluation Commission held their first meeting at the end of January to discuss the issues surrounding homeless services in Salt Lake City. The commission will be meeting every 6 weeks to deliver recommendations to the mayor's office and city council. The public is invited to watch and participate at the meetings. The new Glendale Branch Library opened its doors to much fanfare with the celebration and ribbon cutting. It is now the largest library branch in the city with nearly 20,000 square feet of space and will serve the residents of Glendale and the community as a whole for a long time to come. Now you can download the SLC mobile app to report issues around your community you would like to see resolved. It's currently available on most mobile devices. Visit slcgov.com for a link to download it. For decades, Len Simon has acted as an ambassador from the city to the various federal offices and administrations. Here's what he does in his own words.
I'm Len Simon, and my job is to be the federal liaison for Salt Lake City. The reason why entrepreneurial cities like Salt Lake City have someone like me to help them with the federal government is the federal government has an enormous impact, both positive and occasionally negative, on the affairs of local governments. A lot of folks in D.C., and they're all terrific, the people at the upper echelons of the administration, they're not that familiar initially with Salt Lake City. There's a tendency to focus on other places around the country, and sometimes they're not aware of everything that's going on here in terms of transportation and working to solve our homeless veterans problem and all sorts of innovations in sustainability and livability that Mayor Becker has brought forth. So once you start educating them and bringing the information to them and all the terrific things that are happening here, it's a real revelation. Local governments that really want to get things done have to work effectively with their state governments, but also with their federal government. One of the things that we try to do, probably more than anything, is to get back the money that people in Salt Lake City have sent to Washington, and it comes back to us in the form of housing, transportation, economic development, and environmental protection. And we work very closely with the Obama administration and all those federal departments that form that administration, as well as with the great congressional delegation that represents Utah in D.C. Everyone in this building contributes to the development of our federal program and its implementation. I think if everyone is pushing in the same direction, you're inevitably going to see good results. And I think if you measure it over time, the relationship that Salt Lake City has with the federal government is one that a lot of cities around the country would be very happy to have.
Salt Lake City Council has made air quality one of their major priorities, and here's their take on the issue.
Bad air in Salt Lake. We've all seen it, we've all felt it, we've all wondered, when will it get better?
I love Utah, and I think it's a really beautiful, wonderful state, but our air quality in the winter is appalling, and it makes me depressed and ill and want to leave.
We'd go for weeks where we couldn't even let the kids outside to go to recess.
That's my big concern. It's like, I'm a big boy, I can look after myself, you know, but when the kiddies start to suffer, it's like, it's not okay.
I'm a bike commuter most days, but in the winter I have to stop because I get super asthmatic and ill.
It's kind of scary. Like, you could drive up to Park City and you come down, you can literally see like the scum we're sitting in all the time. It's like we're in like industrial China or something.
The Salt Lake City Council shares your same skies and your concerns. After a winter of particularly poor air quality, the council began studying the factors that contribute to it. Geography, industry, and vehicle emissions all play a part. Many residents might be surprised to learn that wood burning contributes a significant amount of pollution that we all end up breathing. Tiny particles in wood smoke can negatively affect the hearts and lungs of our most vulnerable residents, triggering asthma attacks, bronchitis, and other serious problems in children, the elderly, and those with health problems, making wood smoke both one of the most detrimental sources of air pollution and one of the easiest to fix. The Council is collaborating with agencies to make regional and statewide policy changes that curbs wood burning during winter months. In addition to regulation, the Council wants to educate the public about the effects of wood smoke on our health and the environment during winter inversions. Do your part by committing to not burning wood during the winter. Inform your friends, family, and neighbors of the nasty health impacts of burning wood. Drive less, carpool, use public transit, and never idle. Follow these web links to learn more about how you can improve our air.
And now it's time for our History Minute.
The first golf course in Utah was established in 1906 right here in Salt Lake City. Today we call it Forestdale Golf Course, but at the beginning it was known as the Salt Lake Country Club. It was originally constructed in the small town of Forestdale, a place where there was room to build a golf course and erect a country club that could serve alcohol. In Salt Lake City at the time, sales of alcohol were limited to specially designated saloon districts, but Forestdale was outside of Salt Lake City and they were able to get the appropriate licenses. The clubhouse, which still stands, was designed by Frederick Albert Hale, the architect behind buildings like the Alta Club and the original Salt Lake City Library. Once the clubhouse was built, it became the social center for many of Salt Lake City's residents. It was such a popular spot that many politicians, golfers, and celebrities of national importance came to play or mingle, including President Taft in 1909. Over the years, the club outgrew Forestdale, and eventually they moved out and gave Salt Lake City the course in 1924, though it didn't open as Forestdale Golf Course until 1935. The city ran it until they sold it to the LDS Church in 1958, but ended up buying it back from them in 1970, and they've been operating it ever since.
That's it for this week's Capital City News, your connection to Salt Lake City government. Be sure to tune in next time to keep up to date on what's happening in the city. For SLC TV, I'm Poonam Kumar.